Let me present my screen. All right, so we're going to go over the first theme of geography in the next 10 minutes or so. I'm hoping to get this done by 11:30 before the next group jumps in. So welcome back. Make sure that you're able to watch the video and watch the Edpuzzle video on the different types of maps. And then we're going to get into the 5 themes of geography. So the 5 themes are listed here. It gives us a good idea of how to understand a place and our natural environment. These are some of the main questions that geographers ask. What is the location of a place? So like, where you guys are at right now, where you're standing, if you look down, that's your location. If you look around you, that's your place. The bigger place is your region, Midwest, Illinois, United States. If you get up and move to another room or go to a friend's house or go to Wendy's, that's movement. If you send a text message, a Snapchat, that's the movement of an idea, a song, a theme, something like that. When you adapt or modify your surroundings, building roads, clearing fields, planting, moving from place to place, driving, that's human environment interaction. So hopefully in a nutshell, this gives you a good idea of how the 5 themes of geography paint a picture of how people live their lives. It has to do with their location, their place, their region, how they move, and how they interact with their environment. Okay, so over the next few days, we're going to be learning in a little more detail about those 5 things. All right, so today we're going to cover location. Location is the first of the 5 themes, and there are 2. You need to know the 2 types of location, and they're listed right there: absolute and relative. So if you're taking notes via pen and paper, this would be now a good time to do that. If you got questions, jump in and ask me. Feel free to turn your mic on. You can do this over a Google Doc too, or if you want my recommendation, just make a copy of these notes. They're right there in Canvas, and just follow along with the Google Slides. However you want to do it is entirely up to you. Okay, but I would have something that you can go back to as reference, so you can remember what location is and what the 2 types are. All right. Of the 2 types, relative location is the easiest to understand, and absolute location is the hardest to understand. So we're going to do the hardest one first, and that one is absolute location. So you guys all should know the 2 main references for reading a map. It's lines of latitude and lines of longitude. Lines of latitude run east-west. So if you guys were to look at this map and look at the red circle on the left, 0 degrees, 40 degrees, 80 degrees, those are lines of latitude because those run east-west or right to left. Those never intersect. Notice that there's a 0 degrees latitude. That's known as the equator, the hottest points on Earth. Everything north of that 0 degrees is north latitude. So like this 40 degrees right here, if you follow my mouse, is 40 degrees north latitude because it's 40 degrees north of the equator. All right, 80 degrees north latitude because it's 80 degrees north of the equator. Anything south of the equator would be 40 degrees south latitude. 40 degrees south of the equator, or 80 degrees south of the equator. Okay? Those are lines of latitude. The other main reference is longitude. Lines of longitude run north-south. The main reference point for lines of longitude is this line right here, this 0 degrees longitude. This runs through parts of Africa, Europe, and England. This is known as the prime meridian. So you have the equator for latitude and prime meridian for longitude. Anything east of the prime meridian is 40 degrees east longitude. 80 degrees east longitude, 120 degrees east longitude. Anything west of it, or to the left, is 40 degrees west longitude, 80 degrees west longitude, 120 degrees west longitude. All right, so we got that. So you might be wondering, all right, well, what's the point of this? Because 300 to 400 years ago, guys, long before cell phones and modern technology were around, people were traveling the world, whether it was from continent to continent or within individual countries. And they had to map out where they were. Well, you need reference points for maps. And so what they did is they used where the sun is located to create lines of longitude and latitude. So this would help guide explorers and travelers either through a country or throughout the world. When Columbus and other famous explorers like Vasco da Gama discovered new worlds, not new worlds, but new continents, new lands, they used references points, lines of longitude and lines of latitude. So here's a good example of absolute location. If you look at this point right here, pretty much the border between Nebraska and Kansas, if you can follow my mouse. This absolute location would be 100 degrees west longitude. So this line runs north-south, west longitude, and 40 degrees north latitude, because it's north of the equator by 40 degrees and west of the prime meridian by 100 degrees. That's the absolute location of this point. Now, obviously, you might be wondering, all right, well, what if I'm trying to find the absolute location for a place in Idaho? You can use a more detailed map to find the absolute location for a place in Idaho. But because I'm keeping this simple, let's do another one. Let's do right by New Orleans, by Louisiana. This would be 30 degrees north latitude, 30 degrees north of the equator, and 90 degrees west longitude, because it's 90 degrees west of the prime meridian. Here's another example. If you wanted to look at the absolute location for this place in Russia, this would be 50 degrees east longitude, because it's 50 degrees east of the prime meridian, and 60 degrees north latitude. Okay. So before we move on to relative location, a couple quick tips. Find absolute location. It's where your lines of latitude intersect with your lines of longitude. Wherever those 2 points intersect, that's your absolute location. So like Woodstock, I believe, has an absolute location. I think our absolute location is right around like 88 degrees west longitude, and I think 44 degrees north latitude, I think, approximately. Meaning that where Woodstock is about 88 degrees west of the prime meridian and 44 degrees north of the equator. Questions over at absolute location?
So absolute location is just the coordinates?
Yep. Coordinates using latitude and longitude. So you got to be able to know latitude runs east-west, right to left. Longitude runs north-south, up and down. And wherever the 2 points intersect, latitude and longitude, that's your absolute location. Any other questions? This is something that students struggle with the most out of the two types of locations. But if you practice it, guys, and you're going to in a few minutes, it's really not that hard. Relative location, a lot easier. Here's why. I'll give you an example. If we're looking at Wisconsin, here's an example of relative location. Wisconsin is north of Illinois and south of Michigan. Relative location is just comparing your place to that of another. Like my relative location of my house would be 2 blocks east of the firehouse and about 4 blocks south of Woodstock High School. If you wanted to give directions to Jewel, Osco, you would say Jewel is a few blocks east of the square and just a block north of Walgreens. Right there. When you guys created your neighborhood map, you probably included some landmarks in it. I'm going to take a look at those in a little bit. You might say, like, my house is just a couple blocks north of Dunkin' Donuts and 2 blocks south of Woodstock North High School. You just use relative location. Your place your location compared to that of another. One more example, if we're looking at Ohio here, you would say that Ohio is east of Indiana and south of Michigan. That's relative location. Questions over relative location? Okay. When you're finished here, if you were to click on the Monday, July 6th assignments, go to assignments, click on Monday, July 6th, click on this link, and just follow the instructions in this document. Make a copy of it. Make a copy of this Google Doc. Follow the instructions, use the links available, and answer the questions there. There's an article to read at the end. Should take you 20, 25 minutes. And when you're done, just drop it in here. Questions that you might have. All right. So if you're in the 11:15 group, you're welcome to log off at this point. If you want to stick around and ask me any questions, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I will see everybody tomorrow at 8 a.m. Have a good day. Hey, bud.